All right, welcome to today's show. So MicroStrategy is up 10% today. Also going to talk today a little bit about the tariffs, of what Trump is talking about, the future of tariffs, and additional news on what is happening with Bitcoin's move, also in relation to MicroStrategy. So let's get into it right now and jump in. First off, disclaimer, not financial advice, educational and informational purposes only. All right, so let's jump in right now to the news and show you just the straight data of what's actually going on with MicroStrategy. So here we go. MicroStrategy, Saylor had a big buy over the weekend. So first, Bitcoin exceeded the price mark of 88,000 today within hours of MicroStrategy announcing their purchase. $584 million. So big day. They're back at it. They're buying more Bitcoin. 6,911 Bitcoin between March 17th and March 23rd for approximately $584 million in cash. This is good news. Back in the game. Total holdings for MicroStrategy is 506,000 Bitcoin. The company now has 2.3% of the total Bitcoin supply, which is really cool. And we've rallied past the $88,000 price point, which is really, really good. Also, Saylor, he spoke at the Digital Asset Summit recently, and Saylor says that March 20th, cryptocurrency will hit, he said on March 20th, it will hit 13 million over 20 years, which is pretty cool. And again, the important distinction here is it's a commodity. It's not a security. So talking about Bitcoin, it is a commodity, not a security. And here's a quote from Michael Saylor. I can stand here and I can tell you that I think the price of Bitcoin will go to $13 million over 20 years. I couldn't say that about a security, right? Good stuff, right? So Bitcoin is back in the game, which is good news. And we know strategy is regaining its position as going back up above 335 today is what I saw on after hours. Let's check the price right now. We're at 331 right now. So we hit as high as 335, which is a really big move for strategy. We haven't been at 335 in how long has it been? Has it been a month now? So indicators are back up. Other things that are coming in on the fact that the tariff flexibility from Trump is apparently another big thing that's happening. So first off, let's talk about the ETFs, and then we'll get into the tariffs with Trump. Looks like there has been a big inflow into the spot Bitcoin ETFs just today. BlackRock's had inflows today. We know we've been having a streak of outflows over the last couple months from the ETFs. So they're starting to get the inflow of ETFs. We're also seeing that institutions like hedge funds, family offices, and pensions are going heavy now into Bitcoin. And the idea is that Bitcoin is obviously an asset that is popular right now. Some of these funds think that it's going to beat stocks, perhaps even beat gold, even beat real estate. So that's good news. And recent data, you should fact check this, but I was just researching this today. It looks like 71% of all Bitcoin is locked away in long-term wallets right now. So that's pretty good news, and it shows bullish signs as well. And we're looking good. We're looking better than we've looked in a long time. Also, we know that the Federal Reserve had their meeting last week. It looks like no more rate hikes, and it's indicating that there's going to be 2 rate cuts coming up this year, which is very bullish for the market. It's also very bullish for Bitcoin, and we like to hear that news. So the fact that MicroStrategy is up over 10% today is really cool. If you've been following me for a little while, you know that I'm also an MSTU, which is a 2x version of MicroStrategy. And that's up like 20% today, which is exciting. And a tweet from Michael Saylor says $88,000 equals infinite freedom. So he's referring to Bitcoin. They now hold 506,000 Bitcoin. 506,000 Bitcoin, which is well over $45 billion. So the news is good, and Saylor's tweeting away, Saylor's buying away. From the data and research that I have, it looks like that they did use common shares to buy some additional Bitcoin today. So that's always interesting when they're tapping the ATM to do that. But let's take a look at some more data here so we can get some present time news on this. So here's what we have on the tariff comments, okay? Bitcoin and cryptocurrency prices traded higher Monday. continuing the climb triggered this weekend by comments from Donald Trump honing the administrative tariff strategy. So what's happening is Trump is addressing what's going on with the tariffs right now, and he's indicating that there will be flexibility. This is the key point right here. So he modified his stance on tariffs, saying there will be flexibility on the so-called reciprocal tariffs that he's expected to impose on April 2nd. So we know there's been a lot of uncertainty in the markets because of the tariffs. It looks like Trump is looking to be more flexible. This is very good for the markets because the markets do not like uncertainty at all. And this is good news. Here's additional data on Trump. It says Trump's current tariff pause on many Canadian and Mexican goods also expires on April 2nd. Even if Trump follows through with a more muted tariff position, April 2nd will still see U.S. duties on foreign goods jump substantially again. Okay, so we're seeing what's happening with tariffs. We'll get more news on this coming on April 2nd. But this is very, very good news on what's happening. Here you can see the reversal with Bitcoin, 724 million in inflows. Okay, and you look at the outflows over the last 5 weeks, it's been 5.4 billion. So we've been outflowing about $1 billion a week over the last 5 weeks prior. And so we recently had a week of 724 million of inflows, which is super, super, super good. Okay, so that's good news. The iShares ETFs led the group last week with 464 million in inflows. So that's good news. They're still negative for the month of 131 million of outflows, but we're getting the inflows again. You get the Fidelity Bitcoin ETF received 136 million in inflows. So that's good news. We're back on the inflow side after being on the outflow side for a while. If you take a look at how the market is impacting other stocks, Coinbase jumped 6.9% today, as we've seen the crypto prices climbing. Strategy, of course, I just talked about a 10.4% jump today, which is big, 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 big news. And again, if you're just joining us, 6,911 Bitcoin for around $584 million bought by Strategy, $84,529 per Bitcoin. And we also know that the accounting reports that are coming out for Strategy soon in the next quarter, they're going to have some major, major unrealized Bitcoin gains on their balance sheet that is going to be now recorded in a different way. So it's going to show some massive, massive gains on Bitcoin, which is also bullish signs for MicroStrategy and their balance sheet with the new FASB rules and the changes and the new report coming from MicroStrategy out very soon. So Strategy's got 506,000 Bitcoin. The average price of Strategy's Bitcoin is $66,000. All right, so it shows you how much Michael Saylor believes in Bitcoin. 66,000 is the average buy, and we're at 88,000 today. So clearly he has not changed or wavered one bit in his overall strategy. So that's what's going on in the markets today. Pretty cool. It's exciting news. I think it's a moment of celebration after we've been suffering for the last months. And people have been in pain. They're like, when the market's going to go up again? And finally, we have the damn markets going back up again, which is good. And also, not to mention the fact that the NAV premium for MicroStrategy, which is the net asset value of the Bitcoin that they hold. So you look at the Bitcoin that they hold, the net asset value of it on the balance sheet, and that means that they're trading at a premium. People are willing to pay a premium for MicroStrategy. We know that the entire makeup of the company, almost entirely, is Bitcoin on their balance sheet, period. And their strategy to continue to buy Bitcoin. And they're buying Bitcoin in multiple ways now, which is coming one through issuing stock, which they just issued more common stock today, and they bought more Bitcoin, or not today, but last week, and they bought more Bitcoin. We know that they've also been issuing the convertible note strategy that's been popular for the last several years that they've been implementing. And now they've come out with Strife, which is a new preferred stock, Strike, which is another preferred stock, and they're continuing to raise money through institutional investors on that end for more fixed returns. So this is a war chest being built by Saylor of multiple ways to raise Bitcoin into the company, or raise money to buy Bitcoin in the company. And he's using multiple strategies at once, and they're all working. And that's the good thing. Even when he issues and taps the ATM to issue common stock, and he raises money that way. It's basically like, here's a bunch of paper, we're issuing more stock, you buy my stock and I'll take your money and I'll put it into Bitcoin. So even when he's doing that, where it temporarily dilutes the shares, in the long term, we know it's great for Bitcoin. And he's doing it again and he's crushing it. He's got new products coming out and he's crushing it. And so there's many ways for Strategy to raise money now, which is amazing. There only used to be a couple ways, and now there's 2 additional ways that have been added to the war chest. So the indicators are looking really, really good. S&P 500, will Strategy be added to the S&P 500 coming up? We will find out soon, maybe not this quarter, maybe next quarter. But the indicators are looking good and we are back in the game. So this is very, 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 very good news as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy. I hope you're happy today. If you're happy, put it in the chat box if you're happy, because it's good news when we're back up. And even if you're still down a little bit and you haven't quite recovered your losses, it's okay, because we're on the up, and I'm super excited about it. So that's what's going on for today. If you have any comments, feel free to share them down below. But I am excited. I hope you're excited. I am more bullish. Of course, now when you see things going in the right direction, it's a nice breath of fresh air of like, yes, we're finally moving in the right direction. It's just very, very interesting to also see how the uncertainty is looming around this whole tariff situation. And then when Trump gives good news on the tariff situation, that the indicators move in a fashion where the market starts to go up. So we know, in summary, 1, the fact that the Fed is going to decrease the rate, is going to make rate cuts this year. We know that is a very, very good thing, because when we have rate cuts, it's cheaper for businesses to get money. And so when there's rate cuts, it's like, if I'm a business, because I am a business, and I want to borrow money, I can borrow money in a cheaper way. If I can borrow money in a cheaper way, I can take that money, I can put it back into my business and can circulate into the economy. So this is a good thing. I like what we're doing. I like the direction that we're heading in. I know Trump wants this for the economy right now, and he's interested in the rate cuts. One could say, and there's rumors floating around, that he might be playing chicken with the Fed, because you have the Fed holding firm on their policy of like trying to handle inflation and do what they're doing. Trump does not control the Fed. They operate independently of what Trump's doing, even though they're working together. So he doesn't have control to say, do this. And so he could be playing a little game right now. Who knows? He could be messing with the tariff situation, doing the things that he's doing, dropping the markets a little bit, making the Fed and kind of bending their hand a little bit to go lower the rates, lower the rates, lower the rates. And that's possibly what could be happening to some degree. But I think the whole tariff situation is going to eventually sort itself out. I think we are going to go ballistic this year in 2025, and I'm still very excited about it. Rock says my MSTU average is at $12. I totally feel you on that, Rock. Me and my buddy were playing some positions like a month ago, and I loaded into MSTU at $8.95, $8.50, $8, and also in $7.50. Okay, so I get you. I feel you on it. But we are close to 8 again, and not financial advice. But I feel like in this run, Rock, we're gonna crush past $12. So I will be holding past $12 gains on this, because I do think we're gonna go past $12 and beyond. For those of you who don't know what MSTU is, it is another fund that's created by Rex, REX, and it's a fund that was created that basically is kind of like a derivative of MicroStrategy. They basically are tracking the performance of MicroStrategy. So it's a 2x to MicroStrategy. So the aim of the fund on a daily basis is to get a 2x return on what MicroStrategy does. So if you go look at the return on, let's say, MSTU today, MSTR did exactly 10.41% today. And then if you look at MSTU, MSTU's returns today were 20.5%. So they did almost a 2x today of what MicroStrategy did. After hours, they're both down a little bit, but who knows, right? So so that's kind of that. You hear terms like MSTX floating around. It's another form of like derivative of MicroStrategy. So it's another 2x version. A lot of 2x versions floating around out there. The bummer on these types of things is when you're playing with the MSTUs that are the 2x, and I play with them also. I bought some way back when it was at $4. The challenge that you run into with them is over time it erodes. So this is not to be a downer for you at all, Rock, or anybody else who's in, because I still think for me in the short term, which could be months, right? It could be months. I believe it's a good play if you want to play a little bit risky. and you want to play on the rocket ride side. But the downside of it is, and I'll just give you a quick example, or the thing to be prepared for, I should just say, because when I was looking at MSTU and I loaded some money in about a month ago into it, and it wasn't a small chunk of change I put into it, okay? So it was a large chunk of change. And so when I loaded into it, I bought in at like, I think I said near $9, so a little bit below $9, $8.50, $8, and then I think some at like $7.30. But if you look at that around the time of buying around $9, MicroStrategy itself was around this price point. So as you see, the MicroStrategy has recovered to the 335 price point, which is where it was around that time that I was buying MSTU. And MSTU was at a price point at that time around $9, $8.50, $8 when I was buying it up. And of course, varying degrees of MicroStrategy in comparison, MicroStrategy 330, 325, 320. So what you see is a recovery of MicroStrategy to the 335 price point, but you see now MSTU is around 7.5 today at its closing, $7.50. So we haven't recouped. I got about 20% more to go on that sucker to fully recoup. Actually, not that much. I got 10% to go on that to getting gains on some of it. I got 20% to getting gains on all of it. So if MicroStrategy's price moves at a 10% in the next 30 days, then I'll recoup. I'll make gains on all of that. But I'm not going to sell out at that point. So I'm going to wait for it to go back up. And I'm looking for a run on MSTU. If it's at 750 right now, I'm looking at least a double on this thing from 750 to 15. And I think we could go to the $20, $30 range because we were at $30 like 5 months ago on this thing. Okay. So, or maybe even 4 months ago. So that's it. If you're messing around with these things and you don't know what they are, not financial advice at all. P Jersey's like, next time take profits. Yeah, I get it. Hindsight's 2020. But that's kind of the play on it. And so if you're looking at these decisions, I get it and I understand where you're at with it. I did not sell during the time frame. I know where we're going, and that's just my certainty. Okay, you got to make your decisions on where you think we're going, and do your own financial analysis and predictions and your take profits. But I'm nowhere near the take profits right now for MicroStrategy or MSTU, and I'm holding on for the rocket ride. Okay. Anyway, good news in the markets today. I think we can all be pleased with this. Would we love to be back up to the 540 days? Remember the days of 540 MicroStrategy when we went up there? That was fun. Paul's asking, do I have some Tesla? I do have some Tesla. Yeah, I have some Tesla. I also have, but I shouldn't even say that to be true. I have some 2x on Tesla, so I have a little bit of leverage on Tesla. So I am in a little bit of Tesla. My move on Tesla is to roll out a MicroStrategy when it hits its peak and roll some into Tesla at the end of 2025 or at the end or in 2026 when I think MicroStrategy hits its peak and when I also think MicroStrategy hits its take profit. I've shared this with you before, so it's redundant, but I'm not seeing a take profit for MicroStrategy for me until we start hitting, for me to even to consider it, it's the $600 range. But for me to really be like, I want to take profits, it's the $800 range for MicroStrategy. I still think we have the opportunity to go above 1,000. And if you look at my previous price predictions, I'm still standing on that above 1,000. That is my bullish case. Is I think a $1,200 price prediction on it that I put on this like a couple months back. And I still think we could get to a $1,200 on MSTR. Okay. So, what would that mean for MSTU? That would be total and complete gangbusters. There was another chart here that was really interesting if you wanted to see, and I might have exited out of it, but there's a really great chart that just shows you the holdings of MicroStrategy and kind of their positions. But it gets into the MNAV of MicroStrategy. And for those of you who haven't been following the MNAV of MicroStrategy, again, it's really simple. It's the net asset value of the Bitcoin that MicroStrategy holds on their balance sheet. So if you look at the net asset value, basically MicroStrategy trades at a premium to the assets they have on their balance sheet, which is Bitcoin. And so people are willing to pay more for the stock. And so when you see 1.8x on the MNAV, it means that if they have $1 of Bitcoin, it's trading at 1.8 to it. Make sense? So people are willing to pay about an 80% premium over the assets of Bitcoin that they have on their balance sheet. And so we saw this get as high as 3 way back, and even in the 4 range for last year in 2024. So if you've been only following MicroStrategy, strategy is really the name, right? I like MicroStrategy better, I keep saying it. But if you've only been following strategy for really the last couple months and you've been in the bear portion of the last couple months, then you haven't seen what it can really do with its MNAV. And you haven't really seen what people will pay in terms of premium for the stock. And again, if you didn't watch my show yesterday, Lutnick, which is Trump's Secretary of Commerce, he's the head of the Secretary of Commerce. So Lutnick has $1 billion worth of MicroStrategy that he personally owns. So we have some players that are in this stock. We know that BlackRock owns 5% of Strategy, and so they own 5% of the entire stock. So there's some players that are positioned for this thing to go way, 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 way up. There's even some teacher pension funds that own Strategy inside the pension funds. So there's some major indicators for what's going on. Paul's given us the 2.006 now. So we got a 2.006 as of today. Great data, Paul, on what's happening. So this is amazing. And Paul, you've been following Strategy since July 2014. Amazing. I love this. It's incredible. Good job, man. So it's exciting, right? Oh, 2024. Got it. 2024. Because, of course, 2014, it wasn't around, right? So it's exciting. I don't know when you bought into Strategy, everybody, or if you did buy into Strategy, not financial advice. But if you follow the journey, I'm going to repeat this again if you're new to this channel, because I think it's super, super, super important. If you followed Strategy for the last year, I've been following it since 2020, okay? And I've been following Sailor since 2020 relentlessly. And so if you've been following Strategy, and I put heavy positions in early 2024, you've watched how the stock moves. And I think it's really, really important to watch how the stock moves, okay? And I have not changed my tune on this because I've seen how the stock moves, and I've been through these corrections before. And so it has moved like this many times. I wouldn't say many, I'd say multiple times over the last, let's say 15 months since early 2024. And so we've seen this before. We know the stock is volatile. We've seen the runs up, the 50% runs up super, super fast. We've seen the runs up where we went up all the way up to, before the stock split, up to 1,900 and then back down to 1,000, right? Which is similar to the correction we just saw, which was up to 540. So the correction in 2025 is up to 540 and down to 220. The correction we saw in 2024 was before the stock split. That's why the prices sound weird. Was up to close to 2,000. We might have hit 2,000, and then we went down to 1,000. Okay, these are rough numbers, but it's approximate. So we saw this drop, huge drop in half. And then we saw it chop. We've seen Strategy chop sideways. In 2024, it chopped sideways for months. And the reason I know this is I remember waking up in the mornings just completely bored. I'm like, dude, this sucks. And I remember 2024, early 2024, going, this is boring. We're just chopping. And then I remember just the stock splits and then the turbocharge of this thing by like running up. And we ran all the way up. I always forget the exact numbers, but after hours, MSTR went up to what was it, 540 or 560, one of the two. And this was in 2025 or late 2024, one of the two. So we know how this stock moves. Okay, we know how the stock moves. All right. And I also remember, with MSTU, okay, for those of you who are in MSTU, and I'm not giving anybody financial advice to get into it, but I also remember the moves with MSTU when I bought it when it was at $4 back in 2024, and I believe it was October when I bought it at $4. You can go check the price point. And when I bought in at that price point, it was it moved heavily. Now I can say this because somebody said you should have taken profits. At that time, I dumped in 200K and it ran up fast, like 60%. It ran up in a very short period of time. I took out my profits. All right, whatever the profits were that I took out, it was around, maybe my profits were around 50% when I sold, or 40-something%. So I took out my profits and then I put all my profits back in, and then I put the remaining amount back into MicroStrategy. Okay. So with MSTU, that sucker moves like crazy. All right. And I watched MSTU because I then loaded in with more, and I watched MSTU go all the way up from that $4 price point, and it went all the way up to $300. Now, disclaimer on this. At the time, it was trading at 40 bucks. So that stock split too. So MSTU actually split. So it was actually at $40, and then the sucker ran all the way up to $300. The freaking stock split, and that's why you have the price down at around the $7 range right now. So it went from a 40 in the $40 range, and it ran up to 300. That's a 7x, and that sucker ran up to 300 within like months of a period of time. We're talking about from October, and maybe in a 90-day period, we saw a 7x on that sucker. Is that 7x? Not quite. Maybe 6x. Okay, about a 6x on that sucker. That's a big damn move, okay? So it's not uncommon for these stocks to move heavily, whether it's MSTR, or MSTU, in a very, very, very short period of time, right? Just like we saw it tank and the bottom fall out in a very short period of time. So with all that said, not financial advice, not tax advice, not legal advice, not investment advice, very, very volatile stuff. Getting caught in it when the downturns happen or the market falls out is very, very risky. If you get caught in it, you don't sell it for profits. But this is the game, this is the game of MSTR. And anybody who's gotten into MSTR, I'll just speak for myself, getting into MSTR, I know what I bought into. I bought into something that is extremely volatile. But that's why I love it. I'm in it for this game of the volatility. And that's why the larger balance of my portfolio is in MicroStrategy. Okay. And then the second largest balance is Bitcoin. So there you go. So I hope this serves you. I don't have the MicroStrategy Tesla ratio pair swap. I do actually, James from Invest Answers is brilliant on that. So he's the one with the technical charts and all that stuff. And he does that extremely brilliantly. So I love what he's doing. I'm just not in a space right now where I'm ready to start swapping MicroStrategy into Tesla, but in the future I will. In fact, in 2024, when Tesla was at $200, I sold out a bunch of Tesla in early 2024, and then I bought MicroStrategy, and that play was, MicroStrategy way outperformed Tesla over that time horizon. And so now as MicroStrategy peaks in 2025 or 2026, I'll take profits out, and then I will swap likely back into Tesla and then ride Tesla up for the next however many years. Okay. So is it a pipe dream, Chris R says, for MicroStrategy to go to 4K in 2025? Here's the thing. Is it like, are the odds less likely? I would say yes. I think, is it more likely that MicroStrategy breaks 1,000? And conservatively, is it likely that MicroStrategy breaks 600? I think so. 12 Wall Street analysts are calling for MicroStrategy to go up 80% from its current price point that was at 304 on Friday. So 80% from there is about 540 or 546 price point. So the 12 Wall Street analysts think we are, on average, if you average out the predictions, we're going to go up 80% from where we're at. So I think if you look at a conservative nature, I think we're hitting 600. And I think in a bullish nature, we're over 1,000. And if we were to go to 4,000, that would be extreme bullish nature, like extreme. But I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have any price predictions that I would have anybody here hang their hat on, because you just need to look at it for yourself and go watch a whole bunch of data and study it and think what it is for you. I just have price predictions that are profit-taking range for me, where I would feel like I really crushed it in this run. And I think it would be dope. You know what I'm saying? So I'm super excited. I love this stock. I just love it. I just can't say enough about Saylor, because I think in a time where leadership is really important, and I think at a time where there's so much uncertainty, It's like, where's the voice that provides certainty in the marketplace? And when you look at Saylor, he is the voice. Really, he's the voice for certainty on Bitcoin. He's the voice on certainty for strategy. He is the voice. There's not a stronger voice out there in the marketplace now than Saylor. And you could look at him, because they do own 2.4% of the supply. You could look at Saylor as kind of the CEO of Bitcoin, even though it's decentralized. I mean, you need, to some degree, you need a leader with a voice, because if you have just a whole group of people that go into fear because of media, and go into fear because they don't have conviction, or just go into fear because they don't have enough data because they're new to the asset, then what do you depend on? You can't depend on a system to necessarily give you certainty unless you have the data on it. So what you need to depend on is the voice of somebody who's all in to give you the certainty and to show you by actions that they're going to continue to bet on this thing. And I got to tell you that I think without his conviction, and I'm just going to throw out big acknowledgement to Saylor, like big acknowledgement, because it's very rare that I've seen in this lifetime where I've experienced people who have a vision, and no matter what, he stays the course on his vision and he does not waver. And you've seen this since 2020, since he decided to get in. Where else do you see that? And whatever people's opinions are of Elon, I love Elon. I think Elon's freaking amazing. And whatever somebody's political views are, whatever. As an entrepreneur, this guy is extraordinary. I mean, talk about a guy with a vision, and with all the suppression and all the people that are on his line just giving him shit, he continues to stay the course. Even with his life being threatened, he continues to stay the course with his conviction for what he's doing. That's a rare breed. And shout out to Saylor first and foremost, because this guy has stayed the course, and he deserves a huge acknowledgement from everybody who owns Bitcoin. He deserves a huge acknowledgement for everybody who owns MicroStrategy. And he deserves a huge acknowledgement for being the guy who is leading the way of this charge. Because, you can have Trump come in and put his pen behind it and say he's going to do things. And I love the initiative that Trump is taking. But you got to imagine that people like Saylor are in his ear saying, this is what it is. This is why you should bet on it. And this is why it's the most intelligent asset or commodity ever of our lifetime. And you got to admire that, man, because it's not Trump's conviction on it. Trump has influence. It's Saylor's conviction. And also to the people, the original people who got into Bitcoin, acknowledgement to all of you who got in years and years ago. There's the OGs who got in 2008, 2009, 2010. I didn't get in until 2018. So you got to just acknowledgement for people who stayed the course, and also all the people who are on the airwaves continuing to put out great just acknowledgement of Bitcoin, great YouTube shows on Bitcoin, who aren't putting in the FUD, the fear and the uncertainty and the doubt, but the people who are staying to their conviction and showing up and saying, hey, this is the asset, this is the asset, this is the asset. Because at the end of the day, it's group agreement that makes the thing go. And if the group agreement is strong enough, which is important, and the group agreement is strong enough to not listen to the news and also the false data that's being put on the lines, right? You have false data coming in from news channels. You have people that have other agendas. And yes, do we have an agenda for Bitcoin? Do we have an agenda for MicroStrategy, those of us who are in it? Yeah. But at the same time, I try to give as much accurate data as I can and make sure that I'm giving accurate data. But I'm also going to give my viewpoint and my opinion that I believe in this asset. I believe in Bitcoin. I believe in MicroStrategy. And I'm not wavering on my path. And, Michael Saylor has set that example for us along the way. And kudos to him. Hats off, man. That guy deserves a big, they should just, rather than saying he bought more stock, they should just praise him in the headlines and saying, good job on being a great leader. So that's what I got to say. All right. I hope it serves you guys. China wants to buy Bitcoin now. TCC says, that's cool. John, what's up, my friend? Chris R says, Ted McGrath, you need to do a live session with James from Invest Answers. James is incredible. I mean, James has got years and years in wisdom and experience. I think that guy's absolutely phenomenal. He's the channel that I admire most that's out there on YouTube, because he is just straight data, straight math, shows up every single day, highly intelligent guy, highly ethical dude, amazing guy. So let's see what happens in the weeks to come. Lots of great people out there doing great things, and you're all doing great things by continuing to show up, and everybody's, lots of people are putting their money where their mouth is, putting their conviction there, and staying the course. So well done. Not financial advice, not tax advice, not legal advice. Hope this serves you. See you on the other side. Have an amazing, amazing, amazing rest of your day, and enjoy. Take the win. Take the win. We've been getting our asses kicked for the last 2 months. Take the win, right? It's a nice day to have a win. Hope this serves you guys. Stay well.